Hey, folks, welcome to Shooting Up North. I'm your host, Louis Carlin. We're here right here on the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're watching for the first time, please consider hitting that subscribe button. If you want to follow me on social media, I'm on Twitter at Shooting Up North, Instagram at Alliance PW Network, and feel free to join our Facebook group, the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network. This is Impact Wrestling news, notes, and opinions for August 9th, 2022. Let's get into it. Gail Kim has said if Paige wants to come to Impact Wrestling, the door is open. The door is open for Paige. We spoke about this. I think she said this in another interview not too long ago, but she reiterated that Paige, if Paige wants to come to Impact Wrestling, the door is definitely open. Says Paige would be welcomed to Impact Wrestling with open arms, says Gail Kim. Paige, who is one of the individuals that kickstarted WWE's Women's Evolution era, is no longer under WWE contract for the first time in a decade. Even though she's not cleared to compete, returning to the ring remains a goal of Paige. Gail Kim, another trailblazer in modern women's wrestling, is open to having her join the already fantastic, and I added that in, already fantastic Impact Wrestling's Impact's Knockouts division. When asked by Steve Fall of NBC Sports Boston whether or not Paige in Impact is a scenario that interests her, Gail Kim made it clear that the door is open for Paige if she wants to be in Impact Wrestling. First of all, of course, it's going to be interesting. Of course, it's a scenario that's going to interest Gail Kim. So, I mean, what is she going to say? No, that doesn't interest me. I don't want Paige. Now, of course, there's going to be a scenario that interests her. But Gail Kim said, "I never say never. I love Paige. I admire everything that she's done for women's wrestling. She also came up kind of in a period where maybe it was so powerful, like what it is now. Women's wrestling is probably at its best right now, main eventing pay-per-view shows. It's not an irregular thing for that to happen. Paige was part of that process. I have nothing but respect for her in and outside the ring. And if she wants to come over to Impact Wrestling, I feel like the door is open. So come on over, Paige." So Paige will be welcomed with open arms. Jordynne Grace, a current Knockouts champion, has made it clear as well that she wants to wrestle Paige. Let's pull up. So Jordynne Grace, this is from a past article. This is about a month ago. I think I might have didn't see this one, but anyway. But Jordynne Grace has talked about this article, I should say. Jordynne Grace talked about the potential of seeing Paige in Impact Wrestling and the idea of getting into the ring with her following Paige's departure from the WWE. Jordynne Grace won the Knockouts World Championship on June 12th, 2022, after winning a Queen of the Mountain match against Tasha Steelz, Chelsea Green, Deonna Purrazzo, and Mia Yim at Slammiversary. When asked about the potential of Paige of potentially joining Impact Wrestling by Steve Fall, in an interview for NBC Sports Boston, Jordynne gave her opinion of the situation. She says, "I don't know her personal health stuff or where she's at, but I would absolutely love to wrestle her. She's definitely one of the women that helped build the foundation of modern women's wrestling." So, hey, Jordynne Grace putting the Impact Wrestling Knockouts title on the line against Paige, if she gets cleared to wrestle, would be a fantastic match in Impact Wrestling. And Paige in Impact Wrestling, I think, will be absolutely tremendous. Should be a tremendous addition to the Knockouts roster. I mean, right now things aren't so great in AEW land, with people not happy about their position, about not getting TV time. We're going to talk about a wrestler who's up to about not getting TV time, but we'll get into that shortly. An AEW wrestler, but I mean, she goes to AEW. She's gonna probably just get lost in the shuffle. There was a report. There was a bullcrap report that somebody was sharing on Facebook, saying that Paige, this was like a week and a half ago, that Paige has signed a contract. She signed it down the line, getting ready to debut for AEW. It's all pure bullcrap, pure fabricated story. So if anybody saw that story, it's not true. It's not true at all. But if they could get Paige, and it seems like Gail Kim and Paige have a good relationship. Both, she respects her in and out of the ring. Gail Kim respecting Paige. So man, They could get Paige in Impact Wrestling. Wow, that would be a huge addition. Even if it's not, for her to come in and wrestle at first, just her presence in Impact Wrestling would be absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Maybe she could ref a match, or maybe she could do some commentary, or maybe she could be maybe she could help coach some of the up and coming stars in Impact Wrestling. And then when she gets cleared, or hopefully she'll get cleared, and she could step in the ring and have a few matches in Impact Wrestling. But hope let's see. Let's keep our fingers crossed there. Again, I'd love to see Paige in Impact Wrestling. Speaking of Jordynne Grace, Moose and Jordynne Grace both agree that Impact Wrestling is the place to go if you want creative freedom. Moose and Jordynne Grace enjoy having creative freedom in Impact Wrestling. Again, another article from Fightful.com. Most of the stuff I talk about is going to be on Fightful.com because I think it's one of the best websites out there for professional wrestling. But Grace, the reigning Impact Knockouts World Champion, and Moose, the former Impact Wrestling World Champion, have become two of the promotion's top stars. They have stayed loyal to the company despite opportunities to go elsewhere, and they agreed about one of the key factors in this decision. In an interview with Kevin Kellum. Oh, Kellam, I hope I got that right. If I didn't, I apologize, Kevin. Of Sportskeeda Wrestling, both stars agree that Impact is the place to go if you want freedom. Moose noted that other companies might pay more, but Impact offers happiness because it lets performers have impact about their characters. This is Moose talking here. It says there's one thing Impact gives you. We not pay as much as all these other companies pay. But lots of times money isn't everything. Happiness is very important. This comes from a guy who's had same as Jordan opportunities to work elsewhere. It's not like we haven't been given those opportunities to go to WWE or to AEW, but at some point you have to think, well, what comes first? Are you chasing after all the money, or do you like the happiness you get at the company you're with? Having creative freedom and having to give your input on what your character would do in certain situations is big, and that's something you don't get elsewhere. But at Impact, Scott D'Amore cherishes hitting up Jordynne. Hey, Jordynne, would you like your character to do this? What do you think about doing that? Or, hey, Moose, what do you think about doing this? We could do this if you want to do this. I like that freedom. I like being asked what my opinion is. And that's the one thing I cherish. When asked to provide examples of this freedom, Moose cited his feud with Josh Alexander, and there were plenty of times he was asked whether his character would do something. He stated if he didn't agree with it, he could pitch an alternative approach. Grace also shared her thoughts by referencing how she convinced Scott D'Amore to let the Knockouts do the Ultimate X match by showing him that she and Tasha Steelz could climb up the structure. Again, so this is Jordynne Grace speaking. She's saying another great example, I think, is when we pitched the Knockouts Ultimate X. Finally got it to happen, and I think it was awesome that Scott was out there next to the ring when the Ultimate X was set up, and me and Tasha were just like, "Yeah, when is this match gonna happen?" We're half joking, but he was like, "Oh well, when you can find girls that can climb and get to the top." When you can find God, sorry, let me start over. Oh well, when you can find girls that can climb and get on the rope, I was like, "We'll do it right now." He was like, "All right, do it." We went up there and did it, and he was like, you could see the wheels starting to turn there, Grace said. So Moose continued to emphasize that he heard stories about how other companies were strict with the way they manage the talent's promo and overall creative, whereas Impact is much more collaborative. So again, Moose saying here, I think that's one thing I love about Impact, because I've heard stories about other places where you could get a script and this is what you're going to say and this is how you're going to say it and this is what you're going to do and this is how you're going to do it, but it's not like that at Impact, at least not for us, because we're higher up on the card. At Impact, if you say you don't want to do something and you rather do it a different way, there's no heat, because they know your character, that you know your character best. So I think for me, the best part about me staying in that, for me, that's the best part about staying in Impact, Moose said. So here's what I have to say. Here's Moose praising the creative freedom, Jordynne Grace praising the creative freedom. I had Moose on my show recently. I did an interview with Moose, and I asked him about free agents, and he wasn't sure. He wasn't sure who was a free agent. He said he didn't keep track on who was a free agent, who was not a free agent. My bit of advice, and I don't want to give Moose any advice because who am I? I'm a little tiny podcaster, and he's Moose. He's one of the best in the world. But maybe Moose should keep tabs on who's a free agent and who's not a free agent when someone becomes available, because maybe he could pitch this creative freedom, the creative freedom that you get in Impact Wrestling. I mean, you like you said, he's not going to get. He's not. They're not going to pay as much as a WWE or a AEW, but he could also pitch. It's not all about money; it's about happiness. And I'm sure, like a top guy coming in, like for example, say Johnny Gargano, they could pay him a decent salary. I mean, he could make a decent living. Sure, maybe he'll make a little more money in AEW, but is he going to be happy in AEW? Is he going to be happy in NXT? Without the when if he doesn't have any creative, he might very well be happy. But I'm just using him as an example. Moose should you find out who's a free agent and pitch these qualities that Impact Wrestling has: the creative freedom, the happiness, the freedom to do your own promos, the freedom of saying no, I don't want to do that. Let's try something else. Maybe you should get out and pitch this out to some of the top free agents out there. That's just my opinion. But then again, I'm glad this is getting out here on Fightful.com. And I'm sure a lot of wrestlers are going to see this. And Impact Wrestling is a place where wrestlers should want to go to, right? They should want to go to. And this is a perfect example here. Moose and Jordynne Grace saying that they could have gone to the WWE. I know the WWE wanted Jordynne Grace. They could have gone to AEW, but they chose to stay with Impact Wrestling. One, because they're happy, and two, of the creative freedom. So actually it's reversed, because the creative freedom that makes them happy. And as Moose said, it's not all about money. Now, speaking of free agents, here's a full list of wrestling free agents right now. I'm not going to read every name, but there's some interesting names on here. Like Alan Angels is still a free agent. Obviously, he had one match in Impact Wrestling against Speedball Mike Bailey. They should bring in Alan Angels. They should sign Alan Angels to a contract. You have other guys out there that are free agents. Bandito. I thought Bandito was signed to AAA or AAA Lucha Libre, but apparently he's not. He's a free agent. Impact Wrestling. He's making his Impact Wrestling debut. And there's an interview which is on PW Elite. Unfortunately, I don't subscribe. And Bandito is actually talking about Impact Wrestling, making his debut, and other Impact Wrestling stars that he wants to face. So maybe we're going to see a lot more of Bandito in Impact Wrestling. Big Damo is available as well. I thought he was signed to New Japan Pro Wrestling. He would be a good addition to Impact Wrestling. Looking at some of these other free agents here. Um, Flip Gordon's a free agent. Would love to see him Impact Wrestling take a stab at Flip Gordon. I think he would be a good addition to the X division. Harry Smith. They should bring him in. He could be a challenger for Josh Alexander, and they can have quite a feud. So he's available as well. Harry Smith. Um, any other names that Leo Rush is a free agent. Um, I know No Way Jose is still a free agent. I talked about No Way Jose in a past. Love to see him come in and do a character change. I discussed that on a past podcast. You have Royce Isaac and Jarrell Nelson. They should bring them in. The West Coast Wrecking Crew. Bring them as a tag team. They're a great tag team. You have Shane. I can't believe that Shane Taylor is still a free agent. If Impact Wrestling doesn't jump on Shane Taylor and bring him in, they're out of their minds, in my opinion. They should grab Shane Taylor like immediately. They should grab Shane Taylor immediately. Um, Willie Mack, of course. They should bring Willie Mack back. So here's some female free agents. Um, Santana Garrett's a free agent. I wouldn't mind seeing if they could bring in Santana Garrett. Trisha Dora would be a decent signing. ODB is a free agent, but I would say stay away. You don't need to bring ODB back. We've seen enough of her in Impact Wrestling. It's time to out with the old, in with the new. Um, Kelly's a free agent. Ivelisse, I would bring her in. I would bring Ivelisse in. I think she's a very talented wrestler. And that's it. Those are some of the free agent names that if I was Impact Wrestling, but Scott Demore, that should definitely be looking at Shane Taylor. Man, Shane Taylor, what a talent! Shane Taylor against Josh Alexander for the Impact Wrestling World Title would be just fantastic. I can't believe that he's still a free agent. But speaking of free agents, another free agent out there, Stu Grayson. Stu Grayson actually talked about why he left AEW. The reason why he left AEW, and this is from SE Scoops. It says former AEW star Stu Grayson has cited the lack of TV time as the reason behind his departure from Tony Khan's promotion. The former Dark Order member recently had an interview with Slam Wrestling. He discussed that his post AEW appearances and more during the talk. So he says he's unhappy. He said, okay, he said Stu Grayson explained that his intention wasn't to make, um, it says it was very hard. This is Stu Grayson. It was very hard to show the world how good you are in such a limited amount of time. I would trade in 100 dark matches for 15 minutes of television, is what Stu Grayson um, said here. He said, I would, and Stu Grayson then explained that his intention wasn't to make more money, but was to be given more opportunities and to be challenged. Stu Grayson said, I never wanted to get paid to do nothing. I'd rather make less money and be useful than be useless and make a ton of money. I said, that's not how I am. I need to be challenged. I would go to the gym and in a massive leg day. So that way I'd feel challenged. Stu Grayson left AEW in May this year. His contract with the company had expired, and both sides were unable to reach a new agreement. So Stu Grayson wants more TV time. I know where Stu Grayson can get plenty of TV time. I know where Stu Grayson could go in, and he could be automatically a top challenger for the world champion of this promotion. And I'm talking about, I think you know what promotion I'm talking about. Impact Wrestling. If he wants more TV time, if he left, see, this is another reason. This is the perfect example here of Moose. We were just talking about Moose saying that you can get paid a ton of money, but if there's no happiness, if you're not happy, it's meaningless. So it's more important to be happy than to be making a ton of money. And Stu Grayson basically saying that here, he could have made a ton of money, but it's worthless because he's not getting the TV time he wants, and he's not getting the opportunities, and he's not being challenged. That's what Stu Grayson wants. So Impact Wrestling, have they read this article? Have they read this article? Have they made? Are they? Do they know about this? Because Stu Grayson could come and get plenty of TV time in Impact Wrestling. It would be a terrific challenger for Josh Alexander. Stu Grayson would be an absolutely fantastic, pure fire match for the Impact Wrestling World Championship. If they brought in Stu Grayson, he would be a terrific addition to Impact Wrestling roster. He would get TV time. He would be challenged. There's so many potentially great challenges for Stu Grayson in Impact Wrestling. Why not? Why aren't they bringing him in? Like Stu Ray, if they were signing Stu Grayson and Shane Taylor to long-term contracts, that's two huge signings in my opinion. Two big signings in my opinion. And it's I think it's something that Impact Wrestling should definitely consider. And hopefully they'll be considering it. Hopefully we will see a Shane Taylor and or Stu Grayson or both coming into Impact Wrestling, and some of the free agents that I mentioned as well. Let's get some of these guys in. Again, I'm thinking Josh Alexander against Shane Taylor, Josh Alexander against Stu Grayson. We need fresh challenges because right now at Impact Wrestling, they were kind of hinting towards the fact they were teasing that Eddie Edwards is going to be the next challenger for Josh Alexander, which is fine, but we need some fresh challenges. I mean, Josh Alexander against Jacob Fatu at Ric Flair's last match. That was wonderful. That was wonderful. That was fantastic. That was a fresh challenge. But Eddie Edwards is going to be a challenger. Okay, it should be a good match. But let's get some new faces in there, some new talent. Let's bring in Shane Taylor. Let's bring in Stu Grayson. Let's bring in somebody else, a few other guys that will give Josh Alexander a great match for the Impact Wrestling World title. Let Bandito eventually challenge him for the title. I think it would be terrific. All right, so we're gonna leave it at that. Anything else breaks? I got to get up really early tomorrow, so this might be the last time you see me tonight. But if I don't return later tonight, I'll be back tomorrow. But until then, thank you very much. Take care. Bye bye. Stay safe, everyone. So long. Bye bye.